Hello, Springville families, and I decided tonight that I'm going to start reading chapters from Magic Treehouse number 39, Dark Day in the Deep Sea, because I know that some of us are ready to start reading chapter books and really dive into stories about mystery and magic and fantasy and learn a little bit along the way too. So, come on in, let's start. I'm going to read the prologue, chapter 1 and chapter 2 in this video. All right. So excited. One summer day in Frog Creek, Pennsylvania, a mysterious treehouse appeared in the woods. A brother and sister named Jack and Annie soon learned that the treehouse was magic. It could take them to any time and any place in history. They also learned that the treehouse belonged to Morgan Le Fay, a magical librarian from the legendary realm of Camelot. After Jack and Annie traveled on many adventures for Morgan, Merlin the magician began sending them on Merlin missions in the treehouse. With help from two sorcerers named Teddy and Kathleen, Jack and Annie visited 4 mythical places and found a valuable object to help save Camelot. On their next 4 Merlin missions, Jack and Annie once again traveled to real times and real places in history: Venice, Baghdad, Paris, and New York City. After proving to Merlin that they knew how to use magic wisely, he awarded them the Wand of Dianthus, a powerful magic wand that would help them make their own magic. On their last 2 adventures, Teddy and Kathleen told Jack and Annie that Merlin was very unhappy and not well, and that Morgan wanted them to search for 4 secrets of happiness to share with Merlin. Now, Jack and Annie are waiting for the treehouse to return and take them on their 3rd mission to help Merlin. And that is where our story begins. Chapter 1, Back to the Sea. Jack felt raindrops. He looked up and saw a summer storm cloud. "Hurry!" Jack called to Annie. They were riddling their bikes home from the library. Jack's backpack was filled with library books. He didn't want them to get wet. As Jack and Annie pedaled faster, a large white bird swooped over them and flew into the Frog Creek woods. "Did you see that?" cried Jack. "A seagull!" called Annie. "It's a sign." "You're right," said Jack. The last time they'd seen a seagull in Frog Creek, the magic treehouse was waiting for them. "The woods," said Annie. Jack and Annie bumped their bikes over to the curb. The rain fell harder as they headed into the wet woods. Their bike tires bounced over the rough ground, crushing leaves and snapping twigs. "It must be time to look for another secret of happiness for Merlin," Jack called. "I hope Merlin's feeling better," shouted Annie. "I hope Teddy and Kathleen came with the treehouse," shouted Jack. "Me too," shouted Annie. Jack and Annie steered their bikes under canopies of wet leaves. By the time they came to the tallest oak in the woods, the seagull had disappeared. But the magic treehouse was back. It was high in the tallest oak, its rope ladder swaying in the wind and rain. Jack and Annie climbed off their bikes and propped them against the trunk of the tree. "Teddy! Kathleen!" Annie shouted. There was no answer. "I guess they didn't come this time," Jack said. "Darn," said Annie. "I really wanted to see them." "Boo!" 2 older kids looked down out of the treehouse window. A curly-haired boy with a big grin and a girl with sea blue eyes and a beautiful smile. Both were wearing long green coats. "Yay!" cried Annie and Jack. The rain fell harder as they started up the rope ladder. When they climbed into the treehouse, they yanked off their bike helmets and hugged Teddy and Kathleen. "Morgan sent us to tell you about your next mission for Merlin," said Teddy. "How is Merlin?" asked Annie. Teddy stopped smiling. He shook his head. "Merlin still suffers from an unspoken sorrow," Kathleen said sadly. "When can we see him?" asked Annie. "We've learned 2 secrets of happiness to share with him," said Jack. "You may visit him after you learned 2 more secrets," said Kathleen. "Morgan believes 4 is the magic number that will ensure success." "We have come to send you on your search for the 3rd secret," said Teddy. Kathleen took a book from under her coat and handed it to Jack and Annie. From Morgan's hands to our hands, now to yours, she said. Jack took the book from her. The cover showed waves crashing on a beach. Wow, said Jack. We're going to the ocean? Yes, said Teddy. That is where you will next search for a secret of happiness. The ocean always makes me happy, said Annie. Once, Jack and I traveled to a coral reef and swam with dolphins, and we ran into an octopus, but he was nice and shy, and... But the shark we saw wasn't shy, Jack broke in. It was a big hammerhead. Oh my, said Kathleen. We took a ride in a mini-sub, said Annie. It was so cool. Until it started to leak and, said Jack. Yeah, we had to escape, said Annie. We tried not to splash so the shark wouldn't notice us. We had so much fun, said Annie. Kathleen smiled. Well, I hope you will not find the same fun on this journey, she said. But in case you do, you have your wand to help you, do you not? Said Teddy. The wand of Dianthus? Of course, said Jack. I always carry it just in case. Jack reached into his backpack and pulled out a silvery wand. It was shaped like the spiraled horn of a unicorn. You remember the 3 rules? Asked Kathleen. Sure, said Jack. To make magic, we use a wish with only 5 words. And before we use the wand, we have to try our hardest, said Annie. And the wand can only be used for the good of others, not just ourselves, said Jack. Exactly, said Teddy. I wonder who the others will be on this mission, said Annie. She looked at Teddy and Kathleen. Maybe you guys? I fear not, said Kathleen. You must find the 3rd secret on your own. Just remember to keep your wits about you, said Teddy. And listen to your hearts, said Kathleen. Okay, said Annie. We'll tell you all about it when we see you again. Lightning flashed through the woods as Jack pointed to the cover of the ocean book. I wish we could go there, he said. Thunder cracked in the dark sky. The wind blew harder. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter 2. Pirates again? Jack opened his eyes. Teddy and Kathleen were gone. The warm air was filled with mist. Jack and Annie peered out the window together. The treehouse had landed in a tall tree with spreading branches. The mist was so thick they couldn't see anything around them. But Jack heard the caws of gulls and the swooshing of rolling waves. He smelled salt water and seaweed. The ocean's out there. Feel it? Said Annie. I hear it and smell it, said Jack. Let's go play in it, said Annie. She pulled off her sneakers and socks. We can't just play, Jack said. We have to look for the secret of happiness. Well, I'm happiest when I'm playing in the ocean, Annie started down the rope ladder. I'm sure our mission's harder than that, Jack thought. He took their library books out of his pack and replaced them with the deep sea book. Hurry, said Annie. Jack put on his pack and started down after her. He stepped off the ladder into the misty ground. Come on, said Annie. Jack followed Annie toward the sounds of seabirds and waves. They walked through feathery ferns and climbed a sloping sand dune. When they rounded the top, Jack saw waves rolling onto a wide, sandy beach. But the ocean itself was still shrouded in a gray haze. Wow, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. Come on, let's go in, Annie said. Jack and Annie hurried down the dune and ran toward the ocean. While Annie waded into the water, Jack stood at the edge and pulled out their research book. Listen to this, Annie, he called. Jack read loudly. Water covers 3/4 of our Earth. Most of the ocean is an enormous plain a little more than 2 miles deep. But some ocean trenches are more than 6 miles deep. More than 6 miles? Annie asked, splashing the water with her hands. It's 6 miles from our house to Aunt Libby's. I know, said Jack. He read more. The ocean is home to thousands and thousands of sea creatures. Mountains and volcanoes are also hidden deep beneath the surface of the sea. Mountains and volcanoes? Asked Annie. Under the water? That's what the book says, said Jack. The ocean's a whole world we don't know anything about. Well, some people know about it, said Annie. or that book couldn't have been written. Good point, thought Jack. Put the book away and come in, Jack, said Annie. The sun's coming out. Jack looked up from his book. The sun was burning away the mist, making the day hotter. Let's go swimming, said Annie. As Annie dove into the wave, Jack put his book back into his backpack. He left his pack on the beach and then waded into the water. Great, huh? Called Annie. Yeah, Jack said as he dug his toes into the soft, gooey sand. Cool seawater lapped around his calves. He felt the warm sunshine on his face. Let's swim farther out, said Annie. Maybe the secret of happiness is in the deep sea. How do we go there without a submarine? Asked Jack. And there's a picture. I wonder how they're going to get there if they don't have a submarine this time. The wand, said Annie. Maybe it will turn us into a fish or something. Jack closed his eyes and pictured the darkness of the deep filled with thousands of weird creatures. But the wand can be used only after we've tried our hardest. I don't think we've done that yet, he said. Oh, right, said Annie. Plus it has to be for the good of others. So first, we have to find some others, Jack said, his eyes still closed. Jack, you won't believe it, said Annie. What? Jack said dreamily. Take a look, said Annie. Jack sighed and opened his eyes. The mist had cleared a bit, and the day was becoming bright and hot. I think we just found the others, said Annie. She pointed out to the sea. Jack shaded his eyes and squinted. Through the wavy sunlight, he saw a large wooden ship with 3 tall masts. Whoa, he breathed. That's a ship from a long time ago. Yeah. Remember when we ran into the pirate ship, said Annie. This ship looks the same, doesn't it? Oh no, said Jack. Pirates again? Look, a rowboat's leaving the ship, said Annie. Oh man, it's headed toward us, said Annie. Just like that other time. Remember? The pirates came ashore and chased us? Remember Pinky, Stinky, and Captain Bones? Don't panic, said Jack, panicking. He splashed out of the water and ran up to the beach. Where should we go? Asked Annie, hurrying after him. To the treehouse, said Jack. He grabbed his backpack. But the pirates climbed up to the treehouse, said Annie. Pinky and Stinky found... Forget Pinky and Stinky, said Jack. Let's just get out of here. Jack and Annie charged toward the sand dune. They raced up over the top, and they ran through the tall ferns and grass until they came to the rope ladder. Up, up, cried Jack. Jack and Annie climbed in the treehouse. Pull up the ladder, said Jack. Together they hauled the rope ladder after them. Where's the Pennsylvania book, said Jack. He looked around wildly for the book that always took them home. He grabbed it and found a picture of Frog Creek. Wait, don't make a wish yet, said Annie. She was looking out the window. I'm not so sure these guys are pirates. Clutching the Pennsylvania book to his chest, Jack looked out the window with Annie. There were 3 men in the rowboat. The boat rode the top of a wave and came close to the beach. 2 of the men scrambled out and dragged the boat from the shallow water onto the sand. They both wore huge, bulky vests over white, puffy-sleeved shirts. They wore round white hats and white pants rolled up to their knees. Those 2 don't look at all like Pinky and Stinky, said Annie. You're right, Jack said. Pirates never wear such clean-looking clothes. And look at that 3rd guy, said Annie. The 3rd man stepped out of the boat carrying a butterfly net. He pulled off his bulky vest, revealing an old-fashioned suit and bow tie. He definitely doesn't look like a pirate, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. He looks like he's never been on a boat before in his life. As the 2 sailors pulled the rowboat farther onto the beach, the man in the bow tie picked up a stick. He started poking at clumps of seaweed. What's he doing? Asked Jack. The man dropped his stick and picked up something small from the sand. He studied it for a moment. Then he knelt down, pulled a small book out of his pocket, and began to write. Who is he? Said Jack. I don't know, said Annie. But one thing's for sure. Pirates don't carry butterfly nets or write in notebooks. You're right, said Jack. He put the Pennsylvania book down. What's going on? What do you think they're doing? Look at the picture and see. I wonder. What could he be looking at? Let's go find out, said Annie. She dropped the rope ladder back to the ground and started down. Jack grabbed his pack and hurried after her. Together they ran barefoot over the hot sand and through the feathery ferns. They climbed to the top of a sand dune and looked down. The three men were still at the edge of the water while the big ship drifted offshore. "Hey, look! You can see the name of the ship," said Annie. Jack peered through the haze and read on the side of the ship, HMS Challenger. "I'll look it up," he whispered. He pulled out their research book and searched the index. "It's here," he whispered. He found the right page and read. The HMS Challenger stands for Her Majesty's ship, was a British Navy vessel that served as the first dedicated scientific exploration ship in the history of the world. "Oh, man," Jack said, looking up. "That is so cool." "Yeah, read more," whispered Annie. Jack read on. From 1872 to 1876, the HMS Challenger circled the globe exploring the dark depths of the ocean. There were over 200 seamen and 6 scientists on board. "So we landed in the 1870s?" said Jack, looking up again. "And that guy with the butterfly net must be one of the scientists," said Annie. "Come on, let's go meet him." Before Jack could tell her to wait, Annie darted down the sand dune. "Hey, guys!" she called. She waved her arms. "Hi!" The three men whirled around. Their eyes grew wide and their mouths dropped open. They looked at Annie as if they were staring at a ghost. We will read chapter 3 tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed the first 2 chapters of Dark Day in the Deep Sea by Mary Osborne, and I will see you later.